Okay, we're going to pick up with direct object exercise 1. We have several steps to go to in order to find a direct object. So the first thing we want to do is to find our prepositional phrases. So we have in an apartment is a prepositional phrase. In China is a prepositional phrase. And with her husband and 2 sons is a prepositional phrase. Okay, so it says number 1, to identify them by placing parentheses around them. We've done that. Number 2, it says to identify the infinitive phrase, and we did not find any infinitives. I'm going to go ahead and draw a line through all of these because those will not find a direct object there. Okay, underline the subject with one line. So Kristen is the subject. And underline the verb with 2 lines. Lived is the verb. Okay, we have identified everything in that sentence, and there's nothing left. So there is no direct object in that sentence. Let's go to number 2. She rode a motorcycle all over the city. So actually, over the city is a prepositional phrase. I do not see any infinitives, but I'm going to go ahead and draw a line through all over the city. So we know that we won't be able to find a direct object there. So then let's see, it says to underline the subject with 1 line. So she is the subject. Underline the verb with 2 lines. Rode is our verb. So then we write action verb over the action verb or linking verb. So rode is an action verb. And I'm just going to have to, let's see if I can. We're just going to have to, I'll just put it right here. It's an action verb. Okay. And then we are to ask subject verb who and subject verb what. So she rode who, she rode what. Okay, the answer to that question is motorcycle. So motorcycle is our direct object. All right, there we go. Number 3. She taught piano lessons to students and she taught music at the international school. So the first thing I'm going to do is identify a prepositional phrase. So 2 students is a prepositional phrase. And she taught music at the international school is a prepositional phrase. Okay, I don't see any infinitives, so the subject is she. And we have a comma here and some more words, and so she over here is also a subject. Okay, underline the verb with 2 lines. Taught. And over here is taught. Okay, the next thing is tell if the verbs are action verbs or linking verbs. So I'm going to just have to say, you guys can write over the top of yours since you're doing it by pencil, but taught is an action verb. So I'm going to put that over here too. All right. Then we ask subject verb who, subject verb what. She taught who, she taught what. All right. This is the reason why we mark out the prepositional phrases. Who she taught are the students, but that is not the direct object. That is an adjectival phrase. So she taught what? She taught piano lessons. And if we want to be really specific, we would just say lessons. So over here, she taught who, nothing answers that. She taught what? She taught music. So music is our direct object. Okay, let's go to the next one. Identify the prepositional phrases. Her greatest talent is singing. We don't have any prepositional phrases. There are no infinitive phrases, so underline the subject once talent is the subject. Okay, underline the verb. Is the verb. Okay, then we have to identify whether the verb is an action verb or is a linking verb. Now, you might say singing is also the verb, but it's really not, because singing is what her greatest talent is. So singing is renaming talent. So here we have a linking verb. So that tells us, since we have a linking verb, we will not have a direct object. We cannot have a direct object. Okay, so even though the word singing answers talent is who, talent is what, it is not a direct object because we have a linking verb. This is what we call a predicate nominative, and we're going to learn that later on in this chapter. So you don't need to do anything to that. Let's go to number 5. Some people should have their own record label, and Kristen should have had her own record label. So let's find, we don't have any prepositional phrases, don't have any infinitives. All right, people is our subject. Should have is a verb. Kristen is a subject. Should have is a linking all right. Now here we have should and have are both helping verbs. And so this is a good dilemma to have, because we have to determine, well, are they acting as a linking verb or is they acting as a helping verb? Well, have, we could substitute own, and own is an action verb. So we're going to go with it being an action verb. So we're going to say, let me come back down here. I'm sorry. I have a cat. My daughter got a cat and it's been meowing, and now it's laying down there and playing with my feet. Okay. Now here we have should have. Should have had. So that one is, okay. And that is an action verb as well. All right, now let's go back and we ask the subject verb who, subject verb what question. So people should have what? People should have who? Well, record label. So label is our direct object. And here, Kristen should have had what? Kristen should have had who? Again, label is our direct object. All right, let's go to number 6. Even though Kristen lived in China, she was not Chinese. So in China is the prepositional phrase. I don't see any infinitive phrases. So go back up here, underline the subject with one line. So Kristen is our subject here, and she is our subject over here. And then it says, underline the verb. So lived, we know lived is an action verb. So I'm going to put action verb there. And then here, she was not Chinese. So I'm going to underline that twice. Was is the verb, but was is a linking verb. So all right, now let's go to the next step. So we've written action verb over the action verbs and linking verbs over the linking verbs. So we know, even though no matter what happens, the word was is a linking verb, we will not have a direct object. So we can go to the first part, Kristen lived, who, what. There is nothing there that can answer that because our prepositional phrase cannot be a direct object. So there's nothing in that portion that answers the question who or what. And then in this one, she was not Chinese. That since we have a linking verb, we will not have a direct object. Okay, let's go to number 7. And we will, uh-oh, that was odd. Sorry. So in Chicago, Illinois, to China is a prepositional phrase. To be a teacher is an infinitive. In an international school is a prepositional phrase. And we'll close out our infinitive phrase with that. So I'm going to take and put my line through all of that. We're not going to find our direct objects inside those. Now let's go to number 2. We did that. Number 3, underline the subject. So let's underline Kristen is our subject. Okay, and she over here is our subject. Okay, the next thing it says is to underline the verb. So was born is our verb, and moved is our verb. Okay, the next most important step is write action verb over the action verb or linking verb over the linking verbs. So was born is an action verb. Now you might say, why was a linking verb up there and now it's an action verb? The reason is because was can be an action, was can be a linking verb or a helping verb. When it's used with another verb, it's a helping verb. So the word born is an action verb, so we call this an action verb. And moved is also an action verb. Okay. However, we do not have anything else left in our sentence that we can identify. So we don't have any direct objects. And I know you may be thinking, why don't we have a direct object in every single one? Because I want you to be able to learn how to distinguish even when you don't have a direct object. So let's go to number 8 and go back up here and follow our steps. Identify the prepositional phrases and the infinitive phrases, steps 1 and 2. All right. To return, that is the beginning of an infinitive phrase. And to the United States is, oh, why does it do that? To the United States. So that is an infinitive phrase with a prepositional phrase inside. So we're going to put a line through that. Now, the next step is underline the subjects with one line. So she is our subject here. And responsibilities is our sentence, is our subject here. Okay. The next thing is underline the verb with 2 lines. Loved is an action verb, and responsibilities called. Called is our verb over here. So underline that with 2 lines. Okay, the next step is to identify whether it's an action verb or a linking verb. Since it has an ed, this is an action verb. And called is an action verb. All right, so now we can move on to the next step. Since we have action verbs, ask subject verb who, subject verb what. So she loved who? She loved what? She loved living the international lifestyle. So living here is our direct object. The international lifestyle just expands and modifies what living is. So she loved living. And then the next one, responsibility called who? Well, they called her. So there we have another direct objects. So that one is done. Okay, number 9. First thing, let's go find our prepositional phrases. Of her favorite pastimes. To go to Starbucks. That is an infinitive phrase with a prepositional phrase inside. To Starbucks is a prepositional phrase. And we have, well, I'll do that one in a second, even though. Okay. All right. So that is the end of one prepositional phrase. And then we have another over here. To talk for hours is a prepositional phrase. And with friends is a prepositional phrase. And we'll close that infinitive phrase. So this one we have an infinitive phrase with two prepositional phrases inside. All right, the next thing we have to do is underline the subject with one line. And I'm going to go ahead because we don't want our subject or our direct object to be found inside of a prepositional phrase. So I'm just going to put a line through that. So the subject is one. And the verb is was. And we learned up earlier, I was going to say upstairs, we learned earlier that was is a linking verb. So we're going to go ahead and label that as a linking verb. But there's nothing else in the sentence that could be a direct object. Or since we have a linking verb, we can't have a direct object anyway. So there is nothing else to do that sentence. Number 10, let's find our prepositional phrases. With cream and sugar is a prepositional phrase. And with her coffee is another prepositional phrase. Okay. And let's find, what is the next thing? Infinitives. I didn't see any infinitives. Did you? Nope, no infinitives. So underline our subject once. So she is our subject. We're going to underline that once. And here is she. Underline that once. And I'm going ahead and put a line through this so that you know that we won't find our subject or our predicate, or our direct object in a prepositional phrase. Okay, now the next thing is underline the verb with two lines. So drank is our verb. Underline that with two lines. And ate over here is our verb. The next step is to tell whether it's an action verb or a linking verb. I'll go up here and grab this AV because drank is an action verb. And ate, that is an action verb. Okay, so what's the next step? We have an action verb. We ask subject verb who, subject verb what. So she drank who, she drank what. Coffee then is our direct object. And over here, she ate who, she ate what, she ate a cookie. Cookie is the direct object. Okay, so this one is, we only had 9 direct objects in this. So since we're studying direct objects, but if you want to go ahead, and this might help your grade, I know you want to try to get at least an 80%. Count up how much everything. So Kristen lived 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'll just do it and I'll put another number for you. So if you want to count up everything that you did, every subject, every verb, identifying action verbs, there's 79 possible. So you can put that and count up how many you got right over 79. That might make you have a higher score. All right, we'll see you next time.